Steal this strategy. Elements that stand out. Making sure that the most important components of your application really have their day on your application. Making sure that they are really effectively described, the impact that you've had through these things, the results that you have gained through these things. These need to have their moment to shine. Why is that the case? Why do we need to ensure that our top activities or our top experiences have their moment? Well, I always say to students that it's no use having an exceptional activity, a leadership project, or an incredible result in a competition or in a sport. There's no use putting all of that work in and having those results if we're not able to then communicate them effectively on our application. You may have been the person that experienced all of those experiences over those 4 years of high school, but the admissions officers don't know you yet. So how are you going to be able to communicate all of those results and all of that impact through your application? So let me now give you a couple of examples, one successful and one not so successful. Successful example, a student of mine, again, who's applying this year. She has Model UN as one of her activities. And Model UN is not an uncommon activity. You know, a lot of students participate in Model UN. A lot of schools, not only in the USA, but also all around the world, have Model UN clubs and Model UN societies. So typically, the presence of Model UN on an application is good to have, but it doesn't often make you stand out. But what if this is an activity that you have really cared about? What if this is an activity that is really important to you? Well, how do we make this stand out? The important thing here is to describe that activity in your activity list and potentially in essays with focus on measures of impact. What did you achieve? How many people were affected by the work that you did? And how much money was earned in the activity that you participated in? Did you receive any awards or honors as a result of your participation? Well, this student received awards for Best Speaker, for Best Delegate, and was also in charge of a huge team of students responsible for their efforts and actions in organized Model UN conferences, as well as participating in the activity. So when you bring all of those elements into the description or in the essays for that activity stands out. And there's no doubt that Model UN for this student really sang much more than for many students for whom it wasn't too important an activity. So crucial that we focus on impact. That will make those key elements stand out. A not so successful example, which we fortunately at Crimson were able to turn into a successful case. We had a student join me about 3 years ago, dreamed of going to, I'd say, the top 30 universities, but only joined us about 2 weeks before the deadline. Now, it's not a lot of time to have a lot of impact, but one thing that we can do in the 2 weeks before a deadline is look through the materials and optimize the descriptions, the essays, making sure that those written pieces are getting across the most important elements. And when we looked at this student's activity list, there were no numbers, there was no impact, there was no focus on those successes. It was more just describing the student's general day-to-day responsibilities in those activities. That's not going to be remembered. Even if you had amazing experiences, even if you achieved so much impact, again, raised so much money, was able to inspire hundreds and hundreds of students in the work that you were doing, if you're not putting those numbers in, there's no way that the admissions officers themselves are going to be inspired by what you're trying to tell them. So fortunately, in that 2-week window, we were able to turn it around for this student, put together an activity list that focused on impact and made those elements stand out. And as a result, the student got into their dream universities in the top 20 in the end. So let that be a lesson to us. Let's make sure that the things that we care the most about in our application, the materials that were our strongest in practice, are our strongest on paper. So if you like this video and you want to hear more tips and tricks from Crimson Strategists, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. There's plenty more that we want to share with you. We're delighted to share this information with ambitious students who are looking to apply to the best universities. And so please click on the link below if you want any more information, and I will see you next time for the next installment of Steal This Strategy.